much for joining us. Just time for a quick recap of the week, and it was, look, particularly grim, with yesterday's anti-Semitic attack leaving 11 dead at a Pittsburgh synagogue. This was just days after an apparently racially motivated shooting in Louisville and a series of package bombs being sent to prominent critics of Donald Trump. It has been a time for sober reflection, or, if you're Fox News discussing those package bombs, a time for wild speculation, because before the suspect was even arrested, they were giving airtime to a truly ludicrous theory.
You talked in your notes earlier about the potential that it could be a false flag.
We cannot rule out that it's a false flag operation.
I feel these are false flag bombings.
At the risk of sounding like a far right-wing lunatic, I have to say that I believe that this whole thing was an elaborate hoax.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that. Sounding like a far right-wing lunatic is not really a risk for the Fox News brand, is it? It's more of a guarantee. It'd be like if Tony Bennett started every song with, "At the risk of making your grandma wet." What are you talking about, Tony? We all know that's going to happen. It's specifically what you're here to do. Now, once the suspect was found, and it was clear not just that the bombs were real, but that he was very much a Trump supporter, Geraldo apologised, tweeting, "Never mind, outsmarted myself in conjuring false flag operation." Now, can I just say that outsmarted myself is a brilliant way to say that you did something incredibly stupid. Wow, I really outsmarted myself this morning when I accidentally ate kitty litter instead of grape nuts. I remember thinking as I chewed the clumps, I truly am 2 steps ahead of me. But incredibly, even after the suspect's motivations were clear, some Trump supporters remained insistent that there was more to this story.
Obama probably sent his to himself, and Hillary Clinton probably sent hers to herself.
So you don't think this guy actually sent these bombs to these officials?
No, probably not.
Why?
They probably had it done. They may have paid him to do it.
What would be the upside of that?
Trying to bring people feeling over to their side.
And against Trump?
Yeah.
OK, I got it. So Obama flew to Florida, mailed a bomb to himself in Washington, then flew back just in time to avoid it, all to frame this guy. Now, I'm not saying that man's theory doesn't have any holes in it, but at least we can all agree he really outsmarted Geraldo Rivera. But for now, let's move on to Saudi Arabia, the country with bans on pork, alcohol and porn, or, as it's known in America, a Florida breakfast. Now, Saudi Arabia is continuing to deal with the ongoing fallout from the death of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, who disappeared after entering the Saudi Arabian consulate in Istanbul, which reportedly also contained 15 Saudi operatives who'd flown in with an autopsy specialist and a bone saw. The Saudis initially insisted that Khashoggi had left the embassy alive, but now admit that they'd incorrectly remembered what happened, or dismembered, if you will. Their story instead became that he'd been killed, but for good reason.
They say discussions led to a brawl, and he died in a fist fight.
Yeah, a fist fight. Apparently it started when they had a disagreement over whether or not Khashoggi should be murdered in cold blood. You see, he didn't think so, but the Saudis were really adamant it was a good idea, and, you know, one thing just led to another. Now, of course, this story was, as Khashoggi's editor at The Washington Post tweeted, utter bullshit, which should also definitely be the new term that the Post uses when fact-checking politicians. It's certainly better than using their current system of 1 to 4 Pinocchios. Come on, you're a journalistic institution. Why are you using a dishonest wood demon from a children's story? Now, the Saudis then abandoned that story and suggested that the killing may have been premeditated, which was obvious from the start, especially as it now appears the killers had the laziest of strategies to convince people that Khashoggi had left the consulate safely.
CNN aired what appears to be surveillance video, described to them by a Turkish source as one of the key suspects dressed in Khashoggi's clothes, even apparently a fake beard.
Oh, come on, that is pathetic. For a start, Khashoggi is bald and the body double has a full head of hair. If you're picking a body double for someone, you better make sure they look exactly like that person. That is why my body double is this owl. The resemblance is uncanny. You can't even tell which one is the real owl. Now, this whole horrific situation has put Trump in a very difficult position because he is close to the Saudi leadership and has been bending over backwards to desperately try and excuse what happened. And even as the Saudi story unravelled, he unleashed a critique that can only be described as very, very weird.
They had a very bad original concept. It was carried out poorly, and the cover-up was one of the worst in the history of cover-ups. It's very simple.
A very bad original concept. You're the president addressing the assassination of a permanent resident of the United States, not a Netflix executive deciding whether to greenlight a new series. And besides, even if you were, everyone knows the Netflix development motto is, there are no bad original concepts. Look, this story is horrendous, and businesses with ties to Saudi Arabia have now come in for greater scrutiny, including the WWE, who, you may remember, signed a 10-year deal to stage events there, and who in April staged the greatest Royal Rumble in Jeddah, which was wall-to-wall propaganda for the Saudi government. There was actually a clip from that event that we didn't have time to show you last time, involving wrestler Titus O'Neil, who ran into the arena to jump into the ring, and I promise what you're about to see was not staged.
Titus had a very busy week here in Saudi Arabia. He's had dinner with many princes and very important people, and he's just...
Oh, my God, what the heck?
Look, I just don't think there is any better encapsulation of the WWE's relationship with Saudi Arabia than a wrestler meeting Saudi Arabian princes before falling flat on his face. WWE actually has their next event in Saudi Arabia, Crown Jewel, scheduled to take place this Friday. And they've understandably been under real pressure to cancel it. There are even unconfirmed reports that John Cena wants to pull out of the event. And the truth is, wrestling fans have long been uncomfortable with this whole Saudi deal. In fact, just listen to a crowd that is cheering for The Undertaker suddenly take a turn when he brings up Crown Jewel.
15,000 strong, chanting on their feet for the Phenom.
At Crown Jewel.
Holy shit! I think the WWE itself just turned heel. I mean, do you know how clearly, deeply bad something has to be to get wrestling fans to boo a wrestling event at a wrestling event? That is the type of crowd reaction that you'd expect to hear if the WWE Championship was suddenly won by Beck, which is totally plausible, by the way. The guy's a Scientologist, and they give you superpowers. It's not just a religion, it's a set of principles to help you understand and improve your life, and maybe fly. Just look into it. That's all I'm compelling you sincerely. And yet, despite all the criticism, the WWE is going full steam ahead with Crown Jewel in partnership with a country that, remember, just murdered and dismembered a journalist for the Washington Post. And their promotion for it has been a little tone-deaf, such as this actual Instagram post featuring a funeral urn which was initially captioned, "Respect is out the window at WWE Crown Jewel." And that is obviously insensitive, but also it is kind of nonsense because the urn is referring to The Undertaker, but that's not his catchphrase. His catchphrase, as we all know, is, "Boo! I'm a big beef ghost here to drive you to hell! Boo! I'm a beef ghost! Boo!" That's what he says when he wrestles. Look, it is not going to be easy for the WWE to thread the needle on this. They are pushing ahead with this event, despite the serious concerns of some of their own wrestlers and their own fan base. But since they have clearly picked a lane here, they may as well just say fuck it and go full throttle with the marketing and air something like this.
On November 2nd, it's Crown Jewel, live from Saudi Arabia, featuring Brock Lesnar, AJ Styles, The Undertaker. No female wrestlers because they aren't allowed to perform there. And maybe John Cena, if he's willing to take a major PR hit. Try and forget everything you've seen on the news that might make this hard to enjoy. And instead, watch the Brothers of Destruction leave their opponents dead and buried. Sorry, poor choice of words. Someone is going to rest in pieces. Nope, hang on. Someone is going to be ambushed and mutilated with a bone saw and... You know what? Never mind. The point is, next Friday at Crown Jewel, respect is out the window. And if you care about human rights, the WWE's got 2 words for you. Suck it!
Moving on. Our main story tonight concerns state attorneys general. And yes, That is the correct plural, and if you already knew that, I'm sorry that high school was such a rough time for you. Believe me, I know. Being a teenage grammar nerd is something from which it is difficult to recover. And look, I do realise that a show about state AGs sounds like a tedious prospect. Just watch the start of this 2006 panel discussion on C-SPAN in front of an electrified crowd.
Our panel today features three distinguished and very different and bipartisan attorneys general.
Look, I've got to say, that was a bit of a dick move by the C-SPAN cameraman there. He didn't have to pan across those empty seats, but he did it anyway, as if to say, look, even the panel's friends didn't show up. And I'll tell you what that panel did wrong, actually. If you want a live audience to listen to you talk about state AGs, simply don't tell them in advance. We filmed this show in front of a live audience. You think we told them what this show's about? Of course not. They were explicitly told that this was a taping of The Rachel Ray Show. And I promise she'll be out any minute now. But look, it is worth the effort to learn about state AGs because they are very important, and yet most of us probably don't know who ours is. Although if you live in Indiana, I am very excited to introduce you to yours. Please meet Curtis Hill, AG by day, although by night, something very much different.
I was toying around with it and discovered that I sounded sort of like Elvis.
We're caught in a trap. I can't walk out. Because I love you too much, baby.
We saw the Attorney General do all the hits.
Say, only fools rush in.
I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't look much like Elvis.
I hadn't, to be honest, I hadn't noticed that. Frankly, it's difficult to notice anything besides the most sadistic inseam in the history of tailoring. That looks like a marshmallow bisected with fishing wire. And that's all it looks like. Most state AGs are actually elected, meaning they belong to political parties and they run campaign ads, like this striking one from Michigan.
When you're choosing Michigan's next Attorney General, ask yourself this. Who can you trust most not to show you their penis in a professional setting? Is it the candidate who doesn't have a penis? I'd say so.
Well, that is certainly an argument. Although, to be honest, if you were asking me which candidate I trust most not to show me their penis, I'd have to go with Dickless Dennis. He can't show me his penis. Why? That mean old raccoon still has it. That woman is running for Attorney General in Michigan. It's one of 30 states where voters will be selecting their next AG on November 6th. And those elections are going to be unusually competitive. Some estimate that more than $100 million will be spent on AG races this year. That's up to 3 times more than ever before. So tonight, let's look at who AGs are, what they do, and why they matter. And let's start with what they do, because typically they serve as a state's chief legal officer and the people's lawyer, with responsibilities ranging from criminal law enforcement to consumer advocacy and everything in between. The landmark multi-billion-dollar tobacco industry settlement in the 90s, the one that killed Joe Camel, that was thanks to state AGs. This year's blockbuster report on abuses by the Catholic Church in Pennsylvania, that was thanks to a state AG. You know who put out that raging wildfire in Northern California? That was firefighters. Use your head. Why would state AGs have been involved in that? Use your instincts here. The fact is, though, AGs often work on politically neutral matters, and they still do. But in recent decades, they've also become significantly more partisan. One small sign of this is that while all AGs belong to the National Association of Attorneys General, or NAG, around 2 decades ago, Republicans formed a separate committee just for them, RAGA, and the Democrats followed suit with DAGA. And I do know that RAGA and DAGA sound like twins from Dutch folklore that teach children about right and wrong. RAGA always milks the cow when its udders are swollen, but DAGA is off making nonsense with a goose. When DAGA is given no dinner, this is justice. But arguably the most high-profile way in which this job has become more partisan is the extent to which AGs belonging to one party have teamed up to bring lawsuits against the federal government. Now, that used to be relatively rare, but starting in the Obama years, the number of those sort of lawsuits skyrocketed. It was Republican AGs who successfully limited the Medicaid expansion of Obamacare, and suing the government became a point of pride for AGs like Texas's Greg Abbott.
What I do is I go into the office, I sue the federal government, and then I go home. I've sued the Obama administration now 25 times over the last 4 years.
Yeah, but that is not the smirk of a guy who just goes into the office, sues the government and goes home, is it? That's the smirk of a guy who goes into the office, sues the government, adjusts the office thermostat without telling anyone, steals someone's sandwich from the fridge, farts in the elevator and then goes home. Now, Abbott has since gone on to become governor of Texas, but his successor, Ken Paxton, was no less eager to sue the Obama administration. Just listen to his wife proudly describing Paxton's love for lawsuits in what apparently I legally have to call a song.
I'm a pistol-packing mama, yes I am. I'm a pistol-packing mama, yes I am. I'm a pistol-packing mama, and my husband sues Obama. I'm a pistol-packing mama, yes I am.
I never thought I would say this, but I would honestly rather listen to Moose Knuckle Elvis. Shirley templing it up in his living room in a too-tight onesie. Now, Paxton himself is actually a really good example of how a state AG's political views can significantly impact their work. He told county clerks that they could refuse to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. He was a lead plaintiff in a lawsuit that shot down an Obama-era rule that would have made 4 million people eligible for overtime pay. And when the Obama administration tried to extend protections for transgender kids in public schools, Paxton sued and said this.
Any man that decides that they want to declare themselves to be female for the day can walk into your daughter's locker room or bathroom. It now opens the door for anybody, no matter what they are and how they're thinking. They can change their gender for a day and have the ability to walk into a women's locker room. It's just not right.
What the fuck are you talking about? Obvious bigotry aside, transgender people don't just switch identity for convenience. They are human beings, not reed frogs. That's right. Reed frogs, should the need arise, can spontaneously change from female to male. I just hit you with an unexpected frog fact in the middle of talking about state attorneys general. And I know what you're thinking. Where the fuck is Rachel Ray? If she's not here in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to riot. Just be patient. Be patient. She'll be here. She's making frittatas and you're all going to have a taste. Now, she'll be here. Just be patient. Now, Paxton has actually spent almost his entire time in office under indictment and is awaiting trial for securities fraud. But that is not even the Ken Paxton-related allegation that I would like to show you. Instead, I'd like to focus on one mentioned in a real attack ad from his current opponent.
This is the Collin County Courthouse, where a Dallas attorney accidentally left a $1,000 pen at the metal detectors. This is Ken Paxton, the indicted Texas Attorney General, rummaging through the metal detector trays and stealing that $1,000 pen. And this is Ken Paxton, the indicted Texas Attorney General, walking away with a stolen pen. Vote Justin Nelson for Texas Attorney General. He will fight on behalf of all Texans, and he won't steal your pen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a relief, although thanks to that ad earlier, I would also like to know that he won't steal my pen or show me his penis, or, for that matter, show me his pen or steal my penis. I really need to know all his positions on the penis-pen-show-steal continuum. Still, the larger point is, state AGs are increasingly partisan, and when you look at how Ken Paxton has used his power, it is hard not to think that that is a bad thing. But partisanship can cut both ways. And now that Trump is in office, Democratic state AGs are the ones filing lawsuits against the president. And while you may have been unhappy to hear people cheer for that pistol-packing mama's husband suing Obama, I suspect it may feel a little different hearing the Democratic AG of Washington State say this.
We have 19, since Donald Trump became president, we've filed 19 lawsuits against the administration.
So what do you say to people who just think you have an axe to grind against this guy?
Well, I plead guilty. I do. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, you see, it's interesting how your feelings on suing the government can change a lot based on who is saying it. It's like how I'm getting off here is a fine thing for someone to say if they're standing next to the door of a train, but a very rude thing to say if they are masturbating on that same train. So look, state AGs have a lot of power, and while many of us may not have been aware of that, corporations and other special interests certainly have. Because both Raga and Darga have been increasingly aggressive about raising funds, and one way they do that is by organising events where they essentially sell access to AGs. Raga especially has some pretty lavish getaways where industries can mingle with the AGs who are supposed to be policing them, as CBS found when it spied on one in South Carolina.
We saw at least 9 state AGs rubbing shoulders with representatives from Koch Industries, Big Tobacco, payday lenders, and the NRA. The dress code? Resort casual. CBS News reviewed 88 donations over $50,000 and found more than half of the donors had matters under consideration by a state attorney general or had recently settled.
Now, Raga says there is absolutely no quid pro quo there, so I guess those groups simply donated substantial amounts of money because they wanted to chillax to the max at a resort casual clam bake with North Dakota Attorney General Wayne Stengham. Oh yeah, he's not just the AG of North Dakota, he's the fucking mayor of Margaritaville. Wayne parties fucking hard, he's an animal. And look, some state AGs have been ridiculously cosy with corporations. Take Scott Pruitt, former head of the EPA. He previously served as Oklahoma's AG, where he had a very close relationship with energy companies. He sued the EPA 14 times and wrote the agency multiple letters about policies that threatened to impact local oil companies like Devon Energy. But when a reporter obtained copies of Pruitt's correspondence with Devon, he noticed a weird coincidence.
The letters that Scott Pruitt had written were identical copies in most cases of the draft letters that Devon had sent him. He had taken those letters and simply put them on a stationery and sent them in, as if they were essentially the state law enforcement official opinion. I was like, holy.
Exactly. Like he said, holy motherfucker. And that sure looks like Pruitt let an oil company do his work for him, although, to be fair, maybe he just happened to think up the exact same words in the exact same order that they did. Maybe you find that plausible. Personally, I find it about as plausible as I do the idea that the family in A Quiet Place stayed silent for 472 days. Wow, no one farted for more than a year. That should really be the title of the movie, because that is genuinely incredible. So state AGs are powerful, increasingly partisan, and over half of them are on the ballot this year. And Republicans are very much ready for this fight, as Arkansas State AG and chair of Raga, Leslie Rutledge, will tell you.
When it comes to the Democratic AGs, I can't speak to what they do. I know they raise a heck of a lot less money than the Republican AGs do, because we have been crushing it.
OK, so first, again, bit of a dick move by the C-SPAN cameraman there, undercutting her claims of crushing it with a cruel cutaway to her audience candy crushing it. But the fact is, she is right. Raga is really outraising Darga, and it seems that they are now locked in an arms race for funds, which just cannot be the healthiest way for this system to operate. Naughty Raga! Naughty Darga! If you keep behaving like that, your parents will sell you to the sea witch like your sisters. Now, interestingly, Rutledge is one of the AGs up for election on November 6th, as is possible pen thief Ken Paxton. And if you live in any of these highlighted states, you have got an AG race to vote for, and it is really worth taking a few minutes to research the candidates, especially because many people who do actually vote end up leaving the AG box on the ballot empty. So your vote for AG may technically be even more valuable. In Texas, one poll showed that 39% of registered voters didn't name who that they would vote for AG because they, and I quote, haven't thought enough about it. Which sounds terrible, but that's actually a cause for genuine hope, because remember, that is where Ken Paxton is running. And if there is one thing sure to damage Ken Paxton's reputation, it's an awareness of Ken Paxton's reputation. So please, before November 6th, just think about your AG race. You can do it. You've got 9 days left, and I know that we've all been asked to think about a lot this year, from Supreme Court nominations to gun control to the energy of Pete Davidson's penis. It's been a lot, and now I am adding Research Your State AG race to your list, but it is honestly worth it. Also, if you do it, You'll frankly be amazed at the kind of tidbits that you might find. If you live in Wisconsin, just Google Brad Schimmel $10,000 coins and you'll learn about how your AG managed to spend 10 grand of taxpayer money on coins reading KAED, which stands for his actual personal motto, kicking ass every day. If you live in Arkansas, Google Leslie Rutledge Karaoke 2016 so you can see our friend from before absolutely crushing it on stage.
I think a tractor's sexy. It really turns me on. I'm always staring at him when he's chugging along.
Sing it, Leslie, sing it.
Wait, did that guy just say, sing it, Leslie? I'm not sure that's encouragement. I think that might be an honest plea. Sing it, Leslie, sing it! Don't just drone it arrhythmically at an inconsistent volume. The band's in E major and you're in H. Try and bring it into the known musical universe, Leslie. And look, if you're in Michigan, and even if you are not, please Google Bill Schuette 1989 video. He is their current AG, but he's not actually up for election because he's running for governor. But it is still worth Googling that so you can watch him creepily hitting on a woman behind the camera.
Would you please move closer to the lamp?
I would be happy to move closer to the lamp. I will do anything you want. Some things I may not let you run the camera on. I admire your tenacity, appreciate your spirit of Vincent van Gogh, Rembrandt, and Toulouse-Lautrec.
Oh, that is rough to watch. I don't know how she got through the interview without punching him in the dick. My point here is, taking just 2 minutes to research your state AG is a valuable use of your time. And if you are thinking that you don't have 2 minutes, you actually do, because it's 11:28 right now. I'm not saying goodbye until 11:30. So go to vote411.org right now, where you can find out if there is an election in your state, and if so, who your AG candidates are. Seriously, do it now. You will not be missing anything. I promise nothing entertaining is going to happen for the rest of this show. In fact, to help drive you away for the rest of the broadcast, a bagpiper will be playing Leslie Rutledge's favourite song, She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy. Take it away. Oh, God. Yes, believe it or not, the bagpipes make this song even more unlistenable than it already is. That is an ungodly noise, no disrespect. Turn this show off now and research your AG. And if you haven't already been repelled into action, I'll happily add an accordion into the mix. Oh yes, the sweet, sweet sound of a bagpipe accordion duet. Two sounds that go together like Pop-Tarts and fish. Go to vote411.org right now, because I promise this just isn't going to get any better. And don't fucking push me on this. You think I won't add a theremin to this sound? Think again, motherfuckers! Don't try me! You shouldn't be watching this show anymore. I'm slightly disappointed that our live audience is still here. Rachel Ray is not coming tonight. You've been betrayed. There were never going to be frittatas. But I'll tell you who is coming, though. 6 children playing the recorder. Oh, my God. How are you somehow the worst ingredient in all this? Go research your AGs, because these guys are about to get louder. That is our show. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week. Good night.